So I got cut off on the last feed there. Sometimes weird things happen, but we're back online now. Lord broke through for us there, and we're just talking about how Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego has been tossed into the oven. Now this is not a normal size oven, okay? This oven's the size of like a little garage in a sense. These ovens that Nebuchadnezzar used was to burn like construction things, like things of that sort. So pretty much the it is not a normal size oven here. Okay, it's the size of a little garage, something like that. It's very hot. That's the picture here. So in a sense, so we'll see what happens. Then these men that were bound, we're in verse 21 here, you won't follow along, using the King James Bible here. When these men were bound in their coats, their hoisen, and their hats, and their other garments were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. What happened? It was so hot that it also burned Nebuchadnezzar's guards there. They're actually guarding the oven. They're like, oh, what? They might just pop out of the oven, This is really ridiculous to do this, But that's what you get with Satan and his kingdom, ridiculousness, right? We're talking, things that are not like, natural here. The devil's not natural. The devil's actually unnatural. If you think about it, he'll do things that are ridiculous. So, therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, actually no, we're on verse 23, I'm sorry. And these three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spake and said unto his counselors, Did not we cast three men into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, True, O king. He answered and said, Lo, I see four men, loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the fourth is like the Son of God. Whoa! I thought it was three, not four. All of a sudden a fourth man appears. Whoa! Could that be an angel? Could that be an angel there protecting these three men? We'll read on. Who knows? But all I know is that Nebuchadnezzar's men got burnt instead of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So whatever they planned for these three men backfired and hurt them instead. Ricocheted instead, bounced off them, hit them instead. Let's read on here. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire. And the princesses, governors, and captains, and the king's counselors, being gathered together, saw these men, upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was an hair of their head singed, neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of the fire had passed of them. Miracle! Right here in the Bible. Miracle. Angel equals miracles. Okay? Just like when Moses split the Red Sea here, none of these men, none of these three saints of God were hurt, because a fourth person showed up in the fire with them and saved them from being disintegrated. A miracle here. Okay? That was an actual angel that showed up. One of God's angels from heaven showed up on behalf of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And not a hair was singed on their head, even though they were thrown into a thousand Fahrenheit oven, furnace. They were unhurt. Nothing happened to them. They're full. Their bodies were full. Not even a scratch of hair on their head. Not even a hair was harmed on their head, as we read here. That's what happens when you are in the will of God. That's what happens when we're in this club on this side. Like I said, no matter what evil king or fascist ruler will do to you, you will not be harmed, because God will send His angels to protect you, my friends. Moving on here, verse 28. Then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who hath sent his angel. I told you it was an angel. And delivered his servants that trusted in him, and have changed the king's word, and yielded their bodies, that they may not serve nor worship any god except their own God. So it sounds like Nebuchadnezzar is just waking up to the fact that their God is more powerful than his God. Okay. Verse 29. Therefore, I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which speak anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their house shall be made a dunghill. Because there is no other God that can deliver out this sort. The word dung actually translates to poo-poo. Manure. Just imagine a heap of manure here. So if you mess with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, Nebuchadnezzar is going to turn you into poo-poo. So it looks like Nebuchadnezzar finally woke up to the God of Israel, and now he's going to help the people of Israel now, the Jews. So it turns out he wasn't a Hitler after all. He saw the light, according to these verses here. However, we'll see if that changes. Okay? We have about 8 more chapters to go in Daniel, so, 8 or 9. And we'll see what happens. We're only on the 3rd chapter here. Actually, yeah, one more verse to go here. I'm sorry, we didn't finish Daniel yet. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. So they went from rag to riches, it sounds like. This is another rag to riches story here. Becoming slaves, or Hebrew slaves, they are now promoted to right besides the king, right besides his provinces of Babylon. You think about Babylon, Babylon pretty much were used to worshiping statues and idols before the God of Israel came along through Daniel and these 3 other men. That was a what you might call it, a normal practice in Babylon. Okay, it was normal to worship statues. Well, if you compare America and Babylon today, there is really no difference if you think about it. They're kind of similar, unfortunately. And in America here, we have a lot of idols, a lot of idols, a lot of idol worshiping going on here. And even as Christian believers, we can get wrapped up in worshiping idols. Even some ministers, they get wrapped up in worshiping themselves, thinking they're better than everybody. So we have to really be careful when we're talking about, statues, idols, and these three fellas, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they rather die a painful, slowful death than bow down to an idol. We can learn from that, actually. We can learn from that and realize if these three men can do this, we can also do the same if it comes down to it. Okay. Nebuchadnezzar, that's good to know that he has a change of heart. It's not hard to believe that he would have a change of heart, because at the beginning of the book of Jeremiah, if you remember, he was a servant of God at first. Not necessarily a believer in God, but he was kind of like a contractor for God that God used to wipe out other, kingdoms. And for some odd reason, Nebuchadnezzar continued into his, because he was kind of like, in a sense, feeling himself, like he got all this power, he's got all these kingdoms, he's got Babylon. Why would I need a God? I got all this. I don't need God, man. That's what he was saying to himself. In a sense, he was a god. Nebuchadnezzar thought he was God, in a sense. So he thought he could also harm God's people, and it turns out that he couldn't. He can't harm God's people, God's chosen people, which was Daniel at first, and then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And now the question is, in the next chapter, what does Daniel think of all this? What does Daniel think of Nebuchadnezzar putting these people into an oven, a furnace? Okay, we're going to hear from, hopefully we hear from Daniel in the next chapter. We haven't heard from Daniel yet. We don't know where Daniel is at right now. We know that he does, however, he's in Nebuchadnezzar's cabinet. Okay, I don't think he asked Daniel, before he did all of this. He did this behind Daniel's back, in a sense. This is all behind his back. Daniel probably doesn't know about this yet. That Nebuchadnezzar did this to his own fellow Jews. Okay, and we'll see what Daniel has to say about it if we read about him in the next chapter. But we have to wait and find out. All we know is that right now, God did a miracle, sent an angel on behalf of these three men and saved them from the fires. They didn't get disintegrated like Nebuchadnezzar thought they would. Instead of them getting disintegrated, it was his guards that got disintegrated. The fire was turned up, remember, 7 times hotter than it normally was. So Nebuchadnezzar really wanted to make sure that these men will just melt in this oven. But it didn't happen because God's angel showed up in the fires with them and saved them and preserved them. That was their own guardian angels. Now, I don't know if you know this, but every saint of God has guardian angels. Even I do, as a saint, as a disciple. Some have more angels than others. And we know that, no matter what happens, if we're His, nothing's going to really happen. And what they plan, what the devil plans for evil, God plans for good. So, at that time, before Nebuchadnezzar had a change of heart, the devil was using him. You see, you read between the lines, the devil was trying to use this king here to harm the chosen ones of God, and it failed. The devil fails again. Okay? The devil keeps failing. You understand that? But he will not give up in trying to harm me and you. That's the thing about the devil. The devil might fail, but he is also resilient. He will keep up his attacks, try to make us stumble here, try to make us trip or fall down. You know, something. He'll tempt us. He'll do something, but you just need to keep pressing on forward like these three men did. And they didn't know that they're going to be saved. You know that? They didn't know. They thought they're going to die right there. I'm talking about them three, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They didn't know that an angel would show up on their behalf. They didn't know that. Okay? They thought that's it. Well, they're going to die right there. They're going to be melted in this furnace. But God sent an angel from heaven to preserve them. Just like that. Okay? All I know is it takes a lot of faith and trust in God to go through what they went through. Do we have that faith? Can we ask ourselves that as saints of God? When it comes down to it, do we have the faith like these three men, like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, to say, like, you know what? I'd rather take a bullet to my head than bow the knee to you fools. I'd rather be tortured slowly and die for my God, the God of Israel, than to accept your foolish, stupid 190 feet golden statue that you made, Nebuchadnezzar. Do we have that in ourselves? I hope you do. I know I have it. I have it in myself. I hope you do when you're listening. Did you go around to the average American church? Do you think they have that type of faith? Do you think they do? I'll leave that you to decide. I'll leave that you to ponder that question. And before I really conclude here, I just want to say one more thing. As long as you trust God, as long as you believe in Him into your core, your deep self and the heart, I think you should be okay. You got nothing to worry about. He's got you. He's going to take care of you. Alright? That'll be it for today. I'm your host, Soshi, signing off for now. You guys have a blessed one.